Welcome into Jets Nation Radio. We're doing another episode where we have a guest with us. Today we have, I think the guy that runs the Whiteout podcast, Brayden Ewasko. How's it going, buddy?
Great. It's going fantastic. I'm always pumped to talk Jets, and I'm so happy I'm on.
Yeah. It's been something we've talked about for a while. And then finally, I just was like, you know what? The Jets are in a good spot. We should be talking to our friends over at the Whiteout. So it's been fantastic to get you on.
Yeah, you know what? You said the Jets have been playing well, and you know what? There's nothing I can say that can give this team enough credit. They are outstanding. I've never been more excited to sit on the couch and watch a Jets game.
Yeah, and it's like we're going into games and the Jets really aren't even at a possibility of losing. I had a couple of people ask me yesterday, like, what are the chances the Jets get a W over the Avalanche? I was like, it's Jets all day. I mean, obviously the Avalanche had some injuries, but the Jets have injuries as well. There's really no excuse for why the Avalanche played so poorly last night.
You're 100% right. Like, we look at our lineup and Nikolai Ehlers is out. Probably a big component in that first line, which we thought would have a huge impact on our team. And yet it's like next guy up. It's whoever who we could throw Sam Gagner up there and we're still going to produce. I love Sam Gagner, but you know,
Yeah, like that's the one thing is like every Jets fan has been like, I love Sam Gagner, but we could have anyone really playing in that top line spot, and it's been working. So if you were to describe the Jets in one word, what would it be?
that's a great question. I'm going to say uh I'm going to say spark. I
Spark.
think I think there's a spark in all of them this year. It's like they needed something just to re-energize them, and I think Bowness was that spark. And I
Yeah.
think he is the biggest component for how this team's been playing.
Yeah. Well, I was going through a bunch of stuff that I had done over the summer, just complaining about the fact that Cheveldayoff hadn't done anything all summer. I mean, Sam Gagner, I think, was the biggest. Sam Gagner and David Rittich, biggest signings of the summer. And you're kind of like, oh, we were a team that missed the playoffs by a mile and a half. And Sam Gagner and David Rittich are going to fix this team with Rick Bowness, who's had been to the Stanley Cup Finals once as a head coach and once as an assistant coach. Like, oh boy.
Yeah, it was a weird offseason because I think, even the players didn't know. I'm lucky enough to get little bits of information once in a while, and sometimes I'm looking back and the players weren't even sure what was going to happen, and it's confusing to the fans, it's confusing to media, it's confusing to, I think, the team itself. And then we came out this year and it was like soon as that puck dropped in preseason, it was like we might have a team on our hands here.
Yeah, well, and that's been the thing is like the when the Manitoba Moose have been at 100%, they've been fantastic, and when we've only seen two games of the Jets at 100%, and they're doing pretty all right.
Yeah, yeah.
How refreshing is it to see like a decent penalty kill here in Winnipeg? Because I think it's the first time they've actually been good.
You know what? That's a great question, and it's just re-energizing, I think, for me, because after seeing so many years of us being terrible on the PK and playing terrible defensively, we relied so much on our forwards, and now we are relying on those forwards, but in a different way. We're relying on them to play better defense as a unit, and the structure around how we run our defensive unit on a PK, on just 5-on-5 in general, is outstanding. Guys are covering their positions. They're moving together. And you can see when one guy goes up, somebody slides over. Josh Morrissey in this last game, he picked up somebody. He knew he was driving. He dished the puck off, and Josh Morrissey then picked up the next guy. And the guy who passed on the puck was already picked up. So it is just the system that these guys are playing is incredible to watch. You could sit down and watch the Jets penalty kill. Like, I would love to just put all the clips together of all the penalty kills, because it is extraordinary.
Yeah, well, the fact that they made the Avalanche penalty or power play look like a bunch of peewees out there last night, and the Avalanche have one of the best power plays. My goodness, like in the NHL, it's ridiculous what these guys are doing. Like It's amazing what happens once you give a little bit of freedom to these guys. And I've been saying it for a few years. If Connor Hellebuyck had a defensive structure that worked in front of him, he would be a Vezina winner every single year. And again, we're seeing Vezina out of Connor Hellebuyck.
You know what? You hit the nail right on the head, because I put a $20 bet down on Hellebuyck to win the Vezina at the beginning of this year.
Ooh.
15-1 odds. Now it's down to 8-1 odds.
Money in the bank. I mean, the Islanders goaltender, he's got better numbers. I will admit that. But and I mean, like, you do have to have that Winnipeg biasy where you're not going to get nearly as much love. How long did it take Josh Morrissey to get love this year?
That is the understatement of the year. That guy. It was sort of how it was with Kyle Connor up until last year. Nobody really gave him the respect he deserves. And I think Josh Morrissey had that same thing happen to him, where he's not getting the respect, and finally, sort of, maybe even not yet, hasn't got the full respect that he's deserved.
Yeah. Well, he's argued he is the second best defender in the league. It's Erik Karlsson, Josh Morrissey, and then the rest. I don't care about the rest.
I agree with you.
Yeah. It's fantastic to see Makar do his thing. It's great to see Adam Fox do his thing, but Josh Morrissey, they've awakened a beast in him. And
you know what? He is the best two-way defenseman besides Erik Karlsson.
Yeah.
Because you got to give him the benefit of the doubt this year. But Josh Morrissey, the way he defends and turns that defense into offense is just outstanding. It is so refreshing to watch that going into the season, we didn't know if we'd have a number one defenseman. Or somebody considered our number one defenseman. And Josh Morrissey just came out of the water and shocked the world, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's on pace to absolutely blow his previous record numbers out of the water, and he should be doing that probably within the next 10 games. So we'll hit game, I don't know, 30, 33, and he'll surpass all of his previous numbers offensively anyways. Yeah, it's just great to see Bowness really push these guys to another level. Out of Josh Morrissey, Connor Hellebuyck, Cole Perfetti, and Coach Bones, who's most likely to walk away with hardware at the end of the season?
That's a great question. You know, I think Bowness has done so much for this team, and I think a lot of the praise can be given to Bowness, but Connor Hellebuyck has been and will always be the Jets' best player. He is outstanding. So I'm going to go with my boy, Connor Hellebuyck.
Connor Hellebuyck. I love it. I mean, I'm going with Coach Bones at the end of the year, but no, Connor Hellebuyck, you can't argue against him. He's saying he's got one last goal to go win a Stanley Cup. Is it viable? Is it in the realm of possibility that he's going to be the guy that could potentially win a Conn Smythe to bring the cup back to the Canadian side of the border?
You know what? It's crazy to think about going into this year. Nobody probably even had that thought in their mind. Yet, watching this team play, we don't lack anywhere. So they have the playoff experience. They have the veteran guys. They have the core unit. Now they have the defense to back it up. And that's not even bringing in the fact that we have probably this best, if not second best goalie in this league. I think there's a very good chance that we go far this year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we can make Dallas and Colorado look silly like we've done already this year, it's going to be easy. It's just a matter of getting past Vegas, who I want one more Vegas game this regular season, because I feel like we've almost missed something with the Jets not playing up to their potential against Vegas.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Vegas is a weird team for me. I think they, because they came in and sort of shocked the world a little bit. It's tough because I don't know where to even place Vegas, because I feel like they're such a hot and cold team where, and some games they win, and yet I don't know if I'd say that they were the best team on the ice, but they just seem to know how to win hockey games.
Yeah. Yeah. And hockey is one of those strange games where really it's a matter of luck a lot of the time. I mean, and I'm blanking on New York's goalie right now, the Islanders goalie, Sorokin. There we go. Yeah. He's got like an expected goals against 23 high right now. So he's made some unbelievable saves, and he's gotten lucky. 23 times, arguably. So eventually your luck's going to run out in this league. And there's got to be a day where the Golden Knights' luck has to run out. And it's probably going to be with injuries like we saw last year with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you be making an in-season trade right now, or are you waiting till the trade deadline to make a trade for a top 6 forward?
I'm not going to lie to you at all right now. I'm not moving a piece of this puzzle as of right now. I think with the depth that we have, we've seen that guys can move up and down this lineup, and like Sam Gagner, of course he was a healthy scratch, but it shows the fact that we have so many players that can move throughout this lineup and make contributions. And then when Ehlers comes back, I don't know that we have to make a move. And I think making a move would only put a little bit of, I want to say, mistrust in the team and in the locker room. So I think your best thing right now is to keep riding this as long as possible. And yeah, of course, we're still in the early stages of the season where anything can happen. And we could get to a point where, okay, something's, we lost the fire, so we need to, put a spark back into them. But as of right now, I think as long as they're playing like this, you don't make a single move.
So what happens when we get to trade deadline day? Do you make a trade for somebody to have like an extra boost of oomph for the playoffs?
That's a great question. And I thought about this a lot. You told me you were going to bring this up, and I'm going to have to stay with my gut here. As a kid growing up in a small town, when you're playing with a bunch of your buddies, and you get a guy from outside the unit that hasn't been there struggling with you the whole time, and hasn't been through the heartache and the wins, the losses. It was never fun. And this team has been through so much together from the past couple seasons to now, and now that they're winning together, I'm not touching anything.
Interesting. I like it. I mean, like, I'm all in on that. I went like, there's so much of me that's like, we have to make a trade come trade deadline time, because, well, you can't be using Axel Johnson-Fialvi in your top 6. But this team has proven to me at the same time, we're pretty damn good. We don't care if it doesn't matter if Gagner or Fialvi aren't scoring in the top 6. We're still scoring. We're still winning. The bottom 6 is doing their thing, and we're seeing goals out of the defense. And well, Connor Hellebuyck's a madman. So
yeah, and you got that right. The bottom 6 is probably the bottom 6 I think is our biggest component this year, in the fact that the way that they play in the defensive end, they give up nothing. Mm-hmm. They don't allow a thing past them. They fight. They grind. They have the heart of this team. They have the heart of the culture. They just embody Winnipeg and what the fans and the organization wants to see. It's unbelievable watching this team, because you could be watching Scheifele and Connor and Wheeler play and think, oh, we're going to go out there and get some goals and whatever. But then when you really start paying attention to those bottom 6, Morgan Barron, the play I saw from him against Colorado, they were on a power play, and we were on a penalty kill, and Morgan Barron turned over the puck, then fought off 3 guys to get that puck out, and then cleared it by himself.
Yeah.
So these bottom 6, they blow me away. I'm very, very impressed.
Yeah, they've been very impressive. And like I was complaining about Manalainen before he scored his 2 goals the other night. I was like, this guy hasn't done diddly for us. Like, he brings a great spark to the team, and really I think he should just be a 4th liner. I wouldn't move him much higher in the lineup. But yeah, you don't even have to worry about them being on the ice. They're not a defensive liability whatsoever. And I don't know, like, I know Manalainen came over from Sweden, but what is Cheveldayoff doing to find these guys out in the middle of the sticks?
I don't know. It's so funny. When I look at 2 teams that do that better than almost anybody, it's the Jets and the Canucks. They pick guys out of these, like, you don't even know. It's like they're pulling names out of a hat. That's what they're doing. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, this guy's good. So great.
Yeah. RIP the Canucks, though. They have
oh god,
they have not had much luck lately with finding these guys out in the rough.
No, but Kuzmenko they brought in, and that was he turns out to be a great player. So it's, they've obviously had their downfalls this year, but
Yeah.
hey, that's why I got a Jets podcast and not a Canucks podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't want to be depressed on a podcast. No one likes that. Do you think it's where do you think the real culture comes from with that bottom six? I mean, like the top six, they're fine. They're always going to be scoring goals. Is it Adam Lowry and David Gustafsson that are bringing like a calmness to the back end or to the bottom six, or what is it do you think that has made the bottom six so valuable for this team?
You know what? That's a great question. When I look at this bottom six, and like I go over this, David Gustafsson, Jansen Harkins, Esamon, like these guys are just, I don't even know how to put it. I don't know if there's one specific guy for me that's the difference maker, or even two of them. I think it's just the way that Bowness has them all working together as a unit and as a core back there. It's like he makes sure that each line knows what their job is.
Yeah,
and I think that's huge.
Yeah, well, and it seems like they're playing all the exact same game too. It's you just go get the puck and then you try to fire on their net, or if you can't, just dump it and someone else will come get that puck. And having that speed from Fjallby, you don't really miss Ehlers necessarily. You just miss a shot.
You're right, and I think that's a huge thing of what gets overlooked with this team is their speed. And when you got a guy like Cole Perfetti, when he was playing with Wheeler and Dubois, I know they switched up lately, but I love that line because you let Perfetti just gun, but then you got Dubois and Wheeler. If anything happens to him, those two guys will go in there and crack skulls for you.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Dubois switched up his game a little bit. He's a little bit more aggressive. He's willing to do whatever it takes. It looks like this year, it looks like he's there for his teammates, and that is what is good about this culture, I think. And as much as everybody's talked about Wheeler getting the C taken away, Wheeler is the captain of this team. It's just, he doesn't want the press. He doesn't want the pressure of being the captain, but he is the one that I fully believe holds the culture of the Winnipeg Jets. And I think, instills that on the young guys.
How does he manage to go from arguably one of the worst captains in the NHL, or at least with the Jets organization, to a guy without a C? And we got this whole thing figured out. We've changed the entire culture. We all like each other. And we heard it a lot last year. Well, this room isn't as broken as you guys think, which obviously is true. But like, how do you manage to go from a bunch of angry guys who don't want to stick up for each other, who are apathetic at times, to a team that's like, oh, you said something kind of negative about our team 15 feet back that way. Cool. We're going to crack some skulls here. And we're not even going to draw a penalty either.
Yeah, it's, you know what? It's crazy. So I've had talks about this for months now. When Wheeler got the C taken away, the impression that I got was that it wasn't about being the presence in the locker room. That wasn't the problem. I think it was the way he presented himself to the media as the captain was the problem. He didn't want that. He didn't want the pressure of having to go when they played horrendous. He didn't want to be the one to go and say, oh, we got stuff to work on. He wanted to be just, yeah, this was terrible. But of course, as a captain of a hockey team, you can't. But a guy without a C, and a guy who's free to speak his mind to the players and not have to be put up on this pedestal, I think that is where Wheeler shines as a gritty, grindy player that'll put his heart and soul sort of on the ice for you.
Yeah. Just the play on the ice hasn't changed much for Wheeler, but you can just see how common, like, it just, somebody's cut a cord of, like, just to cut the cord of stress off the guy. It's fantastic. I love what we're seeing out of him, and clearly it's just rubbing off on the rest of the team because everyone's showing up and every single night too. Who has been the best bottom six player? Do you have one, or is it just like they've just been so cohesive it doesn't even matter at this point?
You know what? That's a great question, and I love the speed of Janssen Fjallby. But do I think that I would say that he's my favorite? No. I'd say it's the guy that's sort of corralling them all. And you said it right. I think it's Adam Lowry. I think he's the guy that's your top six play together a lot. They move between themselves, but your bottom six, you need a guy that's going to be that's went through it. That's sort of the captain of the bottom six, if you want to say. And I think that's Adam Lowry. He plays and instills a lot of the culture that I talked about with Wheeler into these young guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Adam Lowry's been the third longest reigning Jet at this point. So if there's got to be a reason why he's still sticking around even after his dad's departed. So we're doing all right with Adam Lowry. Why do you think it's so hard for the Jets to get proper recognition with the major sports networks? Because like it just, last night after the Zamboni incident, I can't even remember who was on TSN doing sports desk, but was just like, look at the Jets and their Stanley Cup. It's some air cylinder, and it's just like, the Jets are the best team in the NHL, or the best Canadian team in the NHL right now, points percentage wise. We're ahead of the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're points percentage wise, top of the Central Division. Still no love.
You know what? That you when you sent me that today, I this is one of the biggest things. Actually, me and my roommate, we complain about this all the time. And going back to the Josh Morrissey thing, right? That guy should be getting way more love than he is, and yet you're right. It's they're not getting the exposure in the NHL, and it's very frustrating when you're the best Canadian hockey team and you're not getting that recognition, and especially from what all the hardship that this team has been through, to come back on and just the probably one of the biggest comeback years I've ever seen so far. It's disheartening as a Jets fan. And why do I think that happens? I think it's the small Winnipeg market. You're going up against teams like Edmonton and Toronto and, Montreal, who, somebody could drop a tack in their locker room and you'd hear about it. So it's just the fact that a lot of these teams have been around a very long time. They have a bigger fan base. But I don't know if there's anybody that matches Winnipeg's fans. We saw it with the Bombers. We see it with the Jets. When there's when the team is playing bad, I swear to God, you'll hear more about the Jets than anybody in the league. But then when the Jets are playing good, it's fans are just happy to be here, happy to be along for the ride. So I think when there's not something to complain about, we fly a little bit under the radar.
Fair enough. Yeah, and it's really funny to watch the comments. Like I do run the Jets Nation Twitter and all the socials really, and it's just like, wow. It blows me away that there's still some people who are like, the Jets aren't good. You can't believe in this team just yet. It's like, dude, we just had the best first quarter ever, period. Even better than that 2018. Was that 2017, 2018? No, that was the year after.
2018,
where we got bumped from where he got bumped in the first round by St. Louis. So
yes.
Yeah. So it's just like the Jets have really, they've turned. Yeah. People need to believe in this team. That's just simply it. That's where I was going with all of that. Kind of wrapping up here. Favorite moment in Canada Life Center or Bell MTS or MTS Center?
I have a lot of memories. I grew up watching the Moose, so a lot of my memories happened at that arena. Of course, I have a couple. We had a tradition where every New Year's Eve we go to like the 4:00 Manitoba Moose game, and me and my buddies and my family, we all go out there. We get drinks, whatever. But my number one memory will be the Whiteout game against Anaheim in the playoffs. We won tickets to that game for I think it was our high school basketball team. And we showed up there, and it was where you could plug your ears and it was so loud in that arena that it was like something I've never heard. Like it was like I was at an AC/DC concert sitting there with with right beside the speaker. That's how it was all game long. There was no there was no quit in the fans. That's, I think, if I was to say that when the culture was at its biggest, it was then. So
yeah, I was on my first year of pipelining at that point, and I was watching all the playoff games just in my hotel room, and I remember I'd throw on the Jets and Ducks games, and from the shower, generally I could hear everything from the commentators, but all I could hear was just screaming for 3 hours. It's like, I can't even watch these Jets. Like, I want to watch these Jets games, but I can't even do that. Like, this is frustrating. And yeah, the best fans in the NHL. I don't care what anyone says. No one's more loyal than Jets fans. Yeah, pretty darn cool.
That is a perfect sentence. The loyalty of Winnipeg is unbelievable. As much as people say that the city is crap and whatever, it seems that everybody always comes back here.
Yeah, exactly. As a guy who moved from Alberta, there's nowhere else I'd rather be, to be perfectly honest with you. The Winnipeg's a pretty darn good city. Even though it is a little grungy and a little bit dirty and a little bit cold, it's still a pretty sweet city.
Yeah, you take your lumps, but it feels like home here.
So. Oh, absolutely. There's like I said, no place I'd rather be, because the city is great. The Jets fans are even better. What is one thing that they could do to get more bums in seats? Because the few games I've been to, it's there's a couple of sections in the 300s that are just totally empty.
Yeah, no, and you're right. It is. I mean, I've been to my fair share this year, and at the beginning of the season, I think it really hurt, because when I showed up for that preseason game, and it was dead, and it was disheartening. And then we started to win, and of course, then it starts to come back. The fans start to come back. But I think what they're doing, they've added more specialty games, like like a bunch of them, the hockey fights cancer, all these, the veterans game, everything like that. And I think that really, like, I was watching the hockey fights cancer before the Colorado thing, and holy moly, I don't know, I was feeling some type of way. That was it got me. It pulled at my heartstrings a little bit. It got my attention, and I think the more this team wins, and the more the players talk about the culture that this team brings to Winnipeg, is it as a fan living in this city, I don't think there's a place you'd rather be in December of downtown Winnipeg. So
yeah, exactly. If you're to get a jersey today, whose name are you going to be putting on the back?
Wow, that's tough, but I'm gonna have to go with my boy Dubois.
Doobie.
I love him. He won me fantasy last year. I think it's just the way he plays. It's skillful. It's gritty. It's everything that, like, people complain about the Laine Dubois trade all the time, and I would much rather, as a coach, have a player that plays like Dubois much more than I'd rather have a player that plays like Laine.
Oh, 100%. You get so much more value out of a guy like Dubois. You might not get the big sexy goals out of Dubois, but I'll take greasy goals over the beautiful goals from Laine every single day of the week. And I mean, like, Dubois is the greatest rat right now in the NHL. Like, the fact that he can draw so many penalties, it's unbelievable. And he doesn't and yeah, he takes a ton of penalties too, but it seems like there's more drawn than there are taken right now.
Yeah, and you know what, the more we see from this guy, he's a big team guy, right? He's out there punching three guys in the head for you if you get hit from behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's I think it's like a being a kid thing again. When I go back to playing in my younger days, and our coach told us, you're going to be the classiest team on the ice, but you always stand up for your teammates. And that's the embodiment of Dubois right there. He's classy, but but he knows when he's got to, get in the mud.
Yeah. And that's perfect. I love that. Get into the mud. Final question for you. Where's your favorite restaurant here in Winnipeg?
Oh, that's a really good question. And I'm going to have to go with a place. So my dad took me to, I can't remember exactly when it was, but he took me to Ray and Jerry's.
Classic.
And my grandpa used to take him as a kid, and my dad took me, and they make one of the best whiskey sours I've ever had.
Really?
Unbelievable. Steak, whiskey sour. What more can you ask for?
Good to know.
Little sort of, it might not be the you might go there and you might think, oh, this isn't the sexiest place, and then you go inside and you have the food, you have the drinks. It's just a great little atmosphere, and I tell my friends all the time, I got to take them. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's I hear lots of great things about Ray and Jerry's, but like every time I've lived in Winnipeg, it's like, ooh, the budget does not allow me to go to Ray and Jerry's.
No, it is not a monthly thing even. It's like maybe once a year. I think I've only been once or twice, but it's yeah, it's definitely not a weekly visit, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. So Ray and Jerry's, when you hear this podcast, let me drop by. I'd love to have a steak and tell everyone about it.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's everything I got for tonight there, Brayden. Where can we find your podcast and where you're hanging out these days?
Yeah, so you can find our podcast on it's the Whiteout. It's on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. We got a video version. We have a Twitter. It's the Whiteout_pod. Same thing for our TikTok, which we use somewhat. Got to start using that more. You can follow me, Brayden Ewasko, Instagram, Twitter, wherever. And once in a while, you'll be able to hear me on 680 CJOB.
Right on. Well, thank you so much, Brayden. And make sure you check out Jets Nation as well. Don't want to take away what you're doing, Brayden. You're doing great work. Go check his podcast out. It's fantastic. But yeah, jetsnation.ca, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok as well. And have yourself a great week. And Brayden, we're going to get you back on again. So,
you know what? Hey, we got a spot. Anytime you want to come on ours, there's always a spot open for you. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know what next time you guys are recording. I'll gladly hop on.
Absolutely.
All right. Be good and do good, friends, and peace and grace. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye.